We are going to begin. We may have a few more people come in, but we're going to begin. Good evening.
Good
And
evening.
welcome.
Good evening.
We are entering into the dark time. And in doing that, tonight we'll be honoring the Cailleach. Her emergence fully isn't until Samhain, but we're beginning to walk with her even now. I think I know most of you, but I'm Erin Schrader. I am the owner of the Rebel Herbalist and the Sacred Grove, and a member of the Indigo Hearth Coven with Leandra and Stacy. And we are here tonight in the last of a season of Cerridwen's Grove Circles. We've been having.
Oh yeah, we're in.
Oh, I see you, Elizabeth. Hello.
Yeah.
All right. We are recording this for other people who can't be here. We will send them the recording. But so we are going to begin. Leandra and Stacy, would you like to introduce yourselves too?
Sure. I'm Leandra Witchwood. I am the owner of the Witchwood Tea House and the Magic Kitchen blog, and I guess the founder of the Indigo Hearth Coven. And I'm so honored and blessed to be here. This is like our collaboration to bring to you some magic every month. And even though we're going into the dark time of the year, so we'll take some time off, we'll be back again in March after this circle to rejuvenate and connect with each other. So I hope you enjoy the evening and enjoy the offerings we have for you to, fulfill your spiritual journey. And I'm glad that we're a part of that.
I'm Stacy. I am the owner of Wild Moon & Co. So I created the crystal candle for you all tonight, and I hope you enjoy it. And I'm so excited to see everybody.
Mm-hmm. I don't see Stacy. Where's Stacy?
I'm right here.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Sorry, Stacy. I didn't realize you guys were 6 feet apart. Sorry. I'm looking for Stacy all over the map here. Okay. I don't have GPS. That's the goddess thing.
Oh,
not,
yes.
Not Theo, but goddess. Sorry.
Oh. I love it. All right. Well, we are going to begin to settle in. So if you want to just sit back in your chair, let your shoulders relax. Bring some breath down to the belly. Leave the day behind. We'll take 3 more deep breaths. And when you're ready, you can come back into the circle with your eyes open, or you can keep them closed. We begin Cerridwen's Grove Circle with story. So this evening's story is the story of the Cailleach. And the Cailleach is an ancient creation goddess, a titan, this giantess known to walk over mountains in one stride. The whole highlands of Scotland were made with her hammer against the cold, hard ground. Many craggy hillsides created by rocks falling out of her apron. She's this giant creation goddess. She's also she's known as sort of the dark half or the queen of winter. Her light half or the queen of summer is Breed or Bridget. So in some stories, they are the same person. And in some stories, Bridget is kept captive by the Cailleach all winter to emerge to her freedom in the spring. And in some stories, there's this transition of power, sort of like the Oak King and the Holly King. So there's many stories throughout the United Kingdom around the Cailleach and Bridget, but generally they're seen as two sides of one coin or two aspects of one goddess. The Cailleach comes into her power on Samhain, and she reigns in her power all winter until Beltane, when Bridget is fully in her power. The story goes that all winter, the Queen of Winter, the blue-skinned hag, the Cailleach, manages the weather, brings the cold, protects the creatures, especially the deer, the stag. You must be on her good side and honor her in order to take a stag in the hunt. There's an old story where two young boys went out into the forest to hunt a stag for their family, and they got this big, glorious monster of a deer, and they drug him home with huge amounts of effort. And they got home and ran inside to get their father, and they came out and the stag was gone because they had never offered to Cailleach before taking the stag. So there was this really deep understanding that we had to honor the harshness of winter and be reverent before we took anything from nature. The Cailleach is this being of balance. So all winter, she is the one who's holding the earth, the dark time. And in the spring, she comes out. This is one of the stories. It's not universal, but one of the stories is she comes out on Imbolc, February 1st, to gather her firewood for the next winter because she goes away for the summer. And if the day of Imbolc is cloudy and overcast or rainy, and that means she overslept and she doesn't have as much time to gather her firewood. So winter is almost over. But if she comes out and it's a sunny day and she has all day and lots of time for her firewood, then there's going to be a lot more winter. So this story came with the settlers to the United States, to the colonies, and became Groundhog Day. So this story was the story of the Cailleach, and now it's, Puxatawny Phil or whatever. But it started with her. She was the originator of this story. So there are so many places in Ireland and Scotland and the Isle of Man that are named for the Cailleach or the hag. There are mountains named for the hag. There are rock formations named for the hag, maybe more than any other goddess or deity. She's just really associated with harsh landscapes, especially. With harsh landscapes, and she's really deeply associated with the deep subconscious, what we modern people call the shadow. She's a keeper of that dark realm. So you'll see other goddesses that have the same echoes, Kali, Hecate, these dark underworld goddesses. So the Cailleach takes her place among those goddesses, the dark goddesses. So coming into the dark time, coming into Samhain, we honor the Cailleach tonight in a way that our people have forgotten to do. We have forgotten to honor the dark, to honor the scarce times, to honor the shadow, to honor balance and the reverence that we bring to all that it takes to keep us alive and healthy. So we bring you this ritual tonight in honor and reverence for the Cailleach and for what she allows us to have. So I'll just tell one more story before we move on to the next part. There are so many stories of the hag throughout ancient Europe. And she is a shapeshifter, you know. In some of the stories, she is a maiden half of the time and a hag half of the time. And she can shapeshift into one or the other at any time. And so there are all these stories of young men moving through the forest, encountering this blue-skinned hag with maybe a tooth and the hair coming off of her chin in corkscrews and tattered clothing. And he needs something. Maybe he's lost, or maybe he's sick, or he needs something for his father, and he needs help. And so he petitions the hag for her help, and she'll do it for a kiss. So can this young man overcome his repulsion and see the beauty there, see the possibility, see the magic, and give the hag the kiss? If he can, she transforms into a sweet-skinned maiden and they can live happily ever after. And it's, you know, if he can't, a horrible fate befalls him. He may be turned into a beast. His children might be cursed for many generations. Like, there are many stories, but the bottom line really is, can we appreciate that all of the faces of life? Can we honor and revere all of the faces of life? And that is the medicine that Cailleach brings us. All right, I will pass the mic, the torch, to Stacy for the next part.
All right, so I'm gonna give you a little information about why I chose the candles or the crystals and the scents that I did for your candles. So before I begin, each candle is made from soy wax. It's also a phthalate-free scent. And the glitter is good to go. You're not gonna have to worry about any fires. So I chose the scents because they're an earthy, grounding scents to help us connect to our roots. The obsidian in your candles, they are to help allow us to connect with our ancestors in a safe space. It allows us to listen to our ancestors, receive messages in a safe way. It's also a very grounding stone and also protective. The amethyst in each of your candles allows you to, if your third eye is open, it allows you to connect in that way. It enhances your intuition to help decipher the messages. And it's also known for giving you prophetic dreams, as well as being a protective stone as well. So that's a little bit about the candle and help you to connect with Cailleach and any messages that may need to come through.
Okay. All right. So the tea that I blended is named Cailleach. And if you have it with you, if you have some brewed, yay, we will be using it. I will be walking you through a visualization to help you connect with Cailleach. And then we are going to end with Erin's scrying blend and her portal bath. And so this tea, it's really simple herbs. It's lavender, rose, nettle, raspberry leaf, elderberries, oat straw, and a little bit of stevia just for sweetness. Because lavender, even though it smells sweet, it can be quite bitter. And lavender is the absolute foundation of this tea. I put that as the foundation because it's for protection. It's for purification and longevity, which I think are three aspects of the crone of the Cailleach that are very dominant for her. So when you go into space with her, I always feel that there needs to be some sort of protection there for you, because she has that duality. It can go, your interaction with her can go different ways. It can be very positive, or it can be, she can force you to face your shadow, which is not always a pleasant thing to do. So I feel like a little protection there is important. The rose is in there for divination, healing, and luck, because we can all use a little luck, especially when we're connecting with spirits. And the healing is, of course, goes along with that longevity. We want to heal ourselves for the long term. The nettle, not only is it incredibly nourishing, that is in there for protection as well. Healing. Raspberry leaf is in there for protection. And elderberries is for healing and prosperity. Oat straw, I think, is one of those, I think it's overlooked because it's such a simple herb. And, we use oats. We know what oats are, but we don't often use the rest of it. So oat straw is a nice thing to add because it's very mild in flavor. But I added it in here specifically for prosperity, and it is sacred to the crone. And when I think of my Scottish heritage, I think of oats. Like oats are that staple. It's that primary thing that they would rely on. So that's why that's how this tea comes together. So I'm going to have you take your tea, and I'm going to lead you through a very quick visualization to connect you to the Cailleach and bring you to a place where you can use your bath portal once we're done here. So get yourself comfortable. If you have your tea, bring yourself into center, close your eyes, take a couple of deep breaths, relax. I want you to see yourself in a meadow, and around you seems to be a bustling village. It's kind of primitive. You can see livestock around, wooden fences, stone houses, thatched roofs. And around you, everybody's going about their business. They're clearing the fields with the harvest. You can smell bread baking. You can see oats being processed. You can see herbs hanging and drying. Maybe there's some hide being tanned. Everybody's going about their business. And you notice that there's a great blue heron in the distance. There's a little road that's leading up to the distance. And it's just standing there. But for a moment, it almost looked like a woman. And it intrigues you. So you decide to go in the direction of this heron. And as you walk, you notice that dusk is beginning to fall. So you walk a little further and you get closer to the heron. And as you get closer, it quickly, almost vanishes and moves a little further away. So you continue to follow the heron. You get a little closer and the heron vanishes and either flies, you can't quite tell. It's such a mystery. It's so intriguing. You don't know if she's disappearing or if it's flying away from you, but you have to know now. So finally, you realize that the sun's getting lower, dusk is dead on, it's getting dark. And you realize that you're at the bank of a beautiful pond of water. And you can hear the birds are starting to settle down for the night. The sun has dipped even lower. Everything starts to look a little bit differently from what it did in the daytime. The reeds look different. The leaves and the trees look different. Everything looks different. And you no longer see the heron. You don't know where she went. So you look around to find this heron, and you notice that the bank of the water, this pond you're near, it's very close. You can walk right up to it. And the water is starting to look very dark. But you can also see that the water looks very warm. You can see steam coming off it, almost like a hot spring. And it bubbles a little bit. And suddenly next to you is a woman. She's an old woman. She has thin, scraggly hair. She's dressed in gray-blue robes that are tattered. She has large black eyes, and she looks at you intently, almost like a bird examining something that it's not sure if it's prey or friend. And she speaks to you. She has a message for you right now. So take a moment and listen to her message. And once she's delivered her message, she hands you a cup of tea to sip. And as you sip, you feel the tea warm you from the inside out, warding off the chill of the night. And as she takes the cup from you, she beckons you to enter the water and to discover the mysteries of the dark. And this is where you will come when you work with the tea and the portal bath. So as you enter the water, allow it to let you float. Allow the warm water to warm you and lift you up. And breathe deeply here for a few minutes. Allow the water to support you. And trust that the Cailleach is watching over you. She is also holding you up. And as you finish relaxing here, you feel her tug at your shoulder and pull you to the bank. And as she pulls you to the bank, she wraps you in one of her linens to keep you warm and beckons you to sit by the bank to absorb what you've learned, the messages you've received, and invites you to come back to this place in the dark time of the year anytime you need. And when you're ready, take a deep breath. Start wiggling your body, bringing yourself back into this plane of existence, into this Zoom call. Bring yourself back from the pool. Stretch if you need to. Wiggle. Take another sip of your tea. Welcome back. I will send it back over to Erin so she can talk about her portal bath and what we're going to do next.
Thank you. Oh, I just want to stay in the pool.
You can go back.
I will. So I hope that we'll all go back to the pool later tonight in a private ceremony, whether that's in our bathtub or just in a place where we can be in meditation and in journeying. And some of you have what I call a bath portal. If you do, I'll talk about that for just a minute. If you don't, I'll give you some other options. But I have created this, what I call a bath portal, and it's a soak. And the main ingredient is Pascalite clay. You see, when I first met the Cailleach, she gave me a message. I didn't know who she was. She was a woman I met in a meditation. And she got right in my face and said, "Sift the bones." And I didn't know what that meant. Ellen's nodding her head. She remembers this. It took me so long to know what sift the bones meant. And when I was just in the pool, she said it to me again. So she keeps telling me, sift the bones, sift the bones. So what I'm learning is the earth, the bones of the earth, the minerals, whether it's gemstones or the soil or the salt water of the sea, any minerals of the earth hold the long memory, hold the memory of time, all time, earth time. And so when we can connect to these minerals, we sift that information, we sift that knowledge back out for ourselves. So Pascalite clay is part of the bones of the earth, is mined from the Bighorn Mountains in Wyoming at an elevation of 8,600 feet. And these ancient mountains, so that's the first ingredient. Himalayan salt, obviously that's ancient minerals of the earth, also from a high elevation. Charcoal, which I'm currently learning, the practice of spagyric medicine, which is when we make an herbal tincture and then we burn down the remaining plant material into ash, that ash actually holds the crystalline nature of the plant. So charcoal holds the crystalline nature and the crystalline consciousness of the wood that was burned. So that again, it's like the bones of the earth. The portal is called Ashes to Ashes too, which is, that really speaks to me of the Cailleach and her long winter fire and how she's the color of ash and how we die and are reborn with her. And then there's mugwort, or cronewort, as it is often called, which is always an echo to the Cailleach. Sweet Annie, which is a cleansing, purifying herb in the Artemisia family. Rose petals for the sweetness and the opening that comes from encountering the shadow, if we allow it. Lavender for protection and strength. Nasturtium flowers, which I have some right here on my Cailleach altar that I made. Nasturtium is so delicious. Like, you can eat the flowers, you can eat the leaves. They taste like pepper. And they have this really awesome, like, witch's hat shape, which I think is super duper cool. So to me, nasturtium is this like nourishing, hot, blood moving flower. So that's in here too. Calendula, which calls the ancestors and is super soothing. Dragon's blood resin, because you gotta have that. And then some essential oils. So what we use this for, it's a drawing bath soak. So you just stick your spoon in there and put it in the bathtub, like a spoon or two full, and it will make your bath water dark, like a purpley gray. And if you just have candles lit in the bathroom with you, your water is going to be dark. So it creates this portal that you can scry in the bath water. And scrying is an ancient practice. We use all these divination tools, whether it's reading tea leaves or casting runes or using our astrology charts or reading the tarot. There are all these ways, and scrying is one of those ways. So when we look at the dark surface of water, so if you don't have this and you want to do this in a cup or in a bowl, just make sure that the cup or bowl is dark, and you can scry right into the dark mug or bowl. And the dark surface, you can let your eyes just sort of soften, like when you're looking at those 3D painting, 3D art things, and you have to like blur your eyes and see the picture, like that kind of soft gaze. And you can start to see, it's like crystal ball gazing, you start to see images, or you start to just see things in your mind's eye. It opens the portal for you. If you don't have the bath soak and you want to do it in the bathtub, you can use Epsom salts, table salt, sea salt, anything that brings those minerals into the bath with you, that helps your cells to hear the messages from the bones of the earth. When you get out of the bathtub with this, if you decide to do that, you will want to drink water and put some hydrating lotion or oil on your body, because it is very drying because of the clay and salt. So be aware of that. Does anyone have questions about scrying or using the bath soak, or how to close the portal? Like once you're in a bath portal or any kind of portal that you open, it's a good idea to close that portal when you're done.
Closing's a good one to touch on.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that part, Leandra?
Yeah, sure. There's so many different ways to do it. I like to envision when I open it, I almost close it the same way I opened it. So if I grew it out, I'll shrink it back in. But you can literally like imagine yourself buttoning it up. So think of it as like fabric coming over and folding in, and then you button it down, or you punch it down with a grommet or something like that. I like to close portals as tightly as possible. So you can use a zipper, you can use whatever imaginary thing that works for you. It could be even just if you open a door, you close the door and lock it. Because while I was always taught that while you are intending to open this portal for this purpose, if you leave it open, anything can flow through. We even cover mirrors in our house around this time of year. And I know that was a Victorian practice after someone passed in the home, but we do it during this time of year because in my family, it was always the portal. It's an open portal. And if you don't close it down at the right times, then you're inviting too many things come in. And it was explained to me, like, imagine you have a knock on your door, and suddenly you open your front door and somebody just pulls you through the front door and shuts the door behind you, and you have no idea where you're at. And that's what happens when we leave the doors open, or if we're knocking on the wrong doors. So closing those up is really important. So if it's a barn door you envision, if it's a front door you envision, if it's a window closing, folding fabric and buttoning it up or tying it up, those are really good ways to go. Usually it's a spiral for me, or a circular pool of water or energy. So if it's going clockwise, then I imagine it going counterclockwise and shrinking as it's going counterclockwise until it disappears. So whatever works for you the best is where you really want to utilize that and make sure you're closing those portals. I was going to add in the scrying. If you don't have a bathtub or anything like that, like I have a weird thing. I don't like taking baths. I'm Pisces. It doesn't make sense, right? I like flowing water. So if I'm going to do scrying, I don't do it in the bath. This is my scrying bowl. I think it's made of black onyx. You can buy them all over the place. And they're not too expensive, but a dark mug or a dark cup will work the same. Another dark bowl will do the same.
Mhm. Thank you so much. And if you scry in your bowl or mug, you can still use the bath soak. What's really cool about it is it has little pieces of plant material in it, and they will dance across the surface and aid in your scrying, making different shapes and configurations. So it can be useful that way too. All right, anyone have any questions or parting thoughts before we go off on our own to finish this ritual and meet the Cailleach?
Okay, good.
I was gonna add in some other crystals you can use during this time too. I
Thank
forgot to mention it earlier.
Go for it. Awesome.
If you don't have obsidian or amethyst, or if you want to use other crystals, indigo gabbro is a good one. It's also called merlinite. Lapis lazuli, bloodstone, a hagstone if you have one. I haven't found one yet. Smoky quartz is also a good one to use. And you can also use your crystal candle along with your bath ceremony that you do, or if you're using it for scrying, you can use it next to the bowl that you're using. That was it.
Yes, there's something about candlelight on the scrying surface that just makes it like so much more like accessible to the subconscious mind or something. Anything else from anyone else before we wrap up for the night?
Okay.
Yes, just huge blessings to everyone as we go into the dark season. Stay in your magic. Things are shifting. I don't know if you can feel it, but the energy is shifting and turning into huge possibility and potential. And we can really focus our magic on making that shift real. So I'm so honored to be a part of this magic with all of you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you all for joining us. And like I said, this is our last one of 2020. So we will pick this up again in March, and we'll keep you informed of what we're doing and when we start it up again. In honor of the Cailleach and this time of year, it's a good idea to rest, rejuvenate, relax, try not to do too much. I know it's hard with the holidays coming up, but that's the purpose of us taking a break from these circles, is to give you tools, give you the magic, give you that inspiration that you can then take with you. And, we'll start it up again and we'll give you more, and we'll continue that lunar cycle, that seasonal cycle.
I also wanted to add that if anybody has any questions along the way through these dark months, feel free to reach out to any one of us.
Mm-hmm.
We're always open for questions or concerns.
And
anything.
support too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Totally. All right. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful evening and rest of your weekends and dark winter time. Blessed be everybody.
Blessed be. Have a good evening.
Yes. Have a great evening.